So back in, I believe, May, I said I wanted to talk more about video games, but that it wouldn't happen for a while. Well, it has been a while since I said that, so here we are with Genokids by Nuke Fist, a hack and slash that I can basically describe as a combination of Kingdom Hearts, Devil May Cry, and Soul Eater, and yes, I'm including that last one purely because of the giant smiling moon. Before we really get into it, I want to make clear, as I put in the title, that the game is currently in early access. This is not the full release. Everything here can change in the future once the game is fully complete. With that in mind, the game's price is going to increase from the initial $25.99 Canadian it is now once it's fully completed. So if you want to save some money, it's best to get it now. But before you go to purchase the game, and no matter what I say about the game coming up, I would highly recommend giving the demo a try first and then making up your mind. Better to try something out for free before getting your wallet out, right? Now, with that all being said, let's get into the game itself. In the city of Los Divas, the titular Genokids are starting up a concert when literal aliens suddenly invade, decimating the city, covering it in purple sludge, and also creating 4 moons above it. This is the Empire of Zenodia, who have come to assimilate humanity for their ego, a sort of energy within them that the Genokids' instruments are actually made from. Angered by what the Empire is doing to their fans, the band ends up gaining the ability to turn their instruments into actual weapons and begins ripping the Empire's forces to shreds. Unfortunately, it isn't enough to take on their leader Fuse, who easily beats and separates them across the city. Blue, the band's guitarist, is found by Rebecca, the band's manager friend lady? It's not outright said in-game, but I'm assuming that's who she is. But knowing her friends are still out there and that they'll run headfirst into trouble the moment they can, Blue sets out on her own to find the rest of the band and stop the Empire of Zenodia. And that's about it for the story here. There are obviously more cutscenes showing Blue meeting up with Red and them taking on the first major boss, but those don't hold much major story developments. They are good, don't get me wrong, they've got good voice acting and general direction, there's good character moments, I enjoy Red and Blue's dynamic, same with what little we see of Yellow and Green, but there isn't much else for the overarching story. Which is fine. This is the first chapter, so it's mainly setting things up. And while it can be argued that it's pretty by the books, I do want to see where the story goes, so mission accomplished. One thing I will criticize about the story, though, is its first boss, Candy. Pretty much every cutscene shows her as a typical, unsympathetic, evil character, but her boss fight starts with a motive rant about how she'll finally get the respect of her allies, and the cutscene after beating her has Red give her some tough love about needing to stop chasing the respect and live for herself. Now, in a vacuum, this is completely fine. I don't think anything about it was done poorly, but I would have preferred if they had hinted to Candy's motivation more prior to her boss fight. Just an extra cutscene or two of her interacting with the other members of the Empire to emphasize how she really wants their respect. As it stands, this is all thrown in right at the end and feels a bit off. Not a massive detriment or anything, but a small flaw nonetheless. Graphically, I love the cel-shaded art style, but I'm not a fan of how the cutscenes sometimes swap between the 2D animatics and the in-game 3D models. Both look good, but they're both clearly different from each other, and it's pretty jarring to go from one to the other and back again. Especially when they're both used at the same time, it looks weird. One section I have no problems with, though, is the music. Genokids has what I would call a dynamic soundtrack. In combat, it's filled with fast, blood-pumping rock, but when out of combat, traversing through the level, the music shifts to a more atmospheric tune that I honestly kind of prefer more than the action ones, if I'm being honest. Regardless, it's all good stuff, so take a listen to it when you get the chance. But now let's get to the main thing you're probably wondering about. How is the gameplay? As far as traversal is concerned, we've got some nice movement options, from dashing onto objects to jump off them or wall running on walls, but the level design itself isn't going to be challenge you much in the first chapter unless you're looking for secrets like alternate costumes or the challenge levels. But as you'd expect, combat is where things really get interesting. You have your standard light and heavy combos, a dash to quickly close the distance, along with a block that doubles as a dodge both on the ground and in the air. Then there's the flow moves. Think of these like the command attacks in Kingdom Hearts. They take energy to use, but deal big damage and are the simplest way to extend combos. You'll also need to unlock them by gaining points, but that should take very little time given the abundance of points throughout the level. And if you're good at getting high combos, it'll net you a higher end rank and of course more points in the process. Speaking of, the challenge maps aren't only there for getting more points, they also give you exclusive items to unlock different weapons for the cast. So far, Blue is the only one that has one, and I'm not the best at the challenges, so I haven't really bothered yet. But this opens up a lot more options for combos once you have them. But if you want to talk about combo extending, then look no further than the main gimmick of the game, character switching. At any point during combat, you can switch between any of the 4 band members. Of course, as of right now, you'll only have access to Blue and Red, but that's still more than enough to get creative and do a lot of flashy, expressive moves. The trick is that switching when a character is using a flow move will still have the character do the move, letting you better chain together attacks for an even higher score. And that's before you include their super modes. Like comparing the flow attacks to command attacks in Kingdom Hearts, this is Genokids' equivalent to Devil May Cry's Devil Trigger. Attacks are boosted, damage I believe is reduced, and attack effects are added to basic attacks, such as Blue's normals producing homing projectiles. Needless to say, if you're a big fan of hack and slashes, you'll feel right at home with Genokids. As for overall stability, I didn't encounter any major glitches, with one exception, where an enemy ended up teleporting outside of the battle area. Wasn't that big of a deal since I could still hit it, I was more amused than anything, but it still needs to be pointed out. I doubt this will take long to fix though, so the full game shouldn't have this problem. Overall, I found the early access version of Genokids to be a lot of fun. The first chapter took me about 2 hours to beat, so assuming the other chapters are around the same length, this is shaping up to be a really good game. I'm very interested in what's to come in the future, and I think if this sort of game is your thing, you should definitely give it a shot. But like I said before, make sure to try the demo first before getting the game at early access. Yes, the early access does guarantee getting the game at its cheapest, but like I said, it's always better to be safe and try something for free if you have the option. But with all that being said, we're at the end of the video. Thanks for watching. I know this isn't my usual stuff, but I do want to do more things like this in the future, and I hope you do enjoy it. I'll see you all in the next video. Later.